So today is a different day than the last video I made. I don't really try to make videos like this as often. I used to when I was like going through a tough time and I was in my car and I was in between people's houses and stuff like that. I was basically homeless. And I made a couple of videos and I talked about how people use race as a way, and basically skin tone, skin complexion. They use it as a way, use it against people. And what I mean is like, um, how some people think that having lighter skin makes it easier for you and all this types of stuff. And it doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It really doesn't. It's just, they're just assuming that because racism exists, that's automatically the case, but it's not. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist, but it doesn't determine a person's character because of their complexion. And a lot of people get that in their head. And it's one way to think of the bigger picture like that, but it's one way to look at the details and see, like, okay, this person's not really like that. And that was where I had left off. But this day, I can choose to look at it from a point of view of what I just said earlier, that they try to use that shit to divide us because they're trying to bring the country down. And election year was 2 years ago, and that shit was just, it was a big circus. People were freaking out. People didn't want Donald Trump as president. They did not want him. They thought he was going to destroy the country. But if you really look at it, they're just trying to get rid of all the white people. Because I was going to a school in California, and they had all these benefits and stuff like that for people who weren't who weren't white. Like if you were gay, if you were black, if you were Hispanic, if you were Asian, if you had a disability, like a mental condition. I mean, you had to have some form of identity, identify with something in order to get something. And if you're just a regular white person with none of those problems like that, you weren't going to get shit. And then, seeing how, when I was out there, there were a lot of the homeless people. There was homelessness in every shade, but you saw a lot of the homeless people. I did anyway. I saw a lot of the homeless people out there that were doing really bad were the white people, you know. So they're trying to get rid of the white race. And, I'm not saying that it's a right or wrong thing, but I'm just saying that's what they're doing. And I read something in a book, I think it was an article I read on my phone. It was talking about the New World Order and how they wanted to make everything all mixed up so that no one really identified with anything. They were just all one thing. They all considered themselves one thing. And whether it be person of color or whatever the case may be, and if they could get people to do that, then it'll be easier to control them. And the one way to do it was to get rid of white people, get rid of the white nationalists, the people that believed in their country and were patriotic and all that. And I said, I didn't really buy it then, but now I'm starting to see that's what they're doing, especially with these people basically, they're trying to, we got this new president. He was able to pick his own Supreme Court nominee, and he did it, and now they're blocking him to take his lifetime position as a Supreme Court justice. And it's like, what are they really trying to do? You know what I mean? Like, this man's going to get confirmed. Whether they put a sexual assault allegation up against him from years ago, which is what they did. And I knew they were going to try to do something to stop it, So that's what they did. And look at where we at now, as a country. We're still divided. And, it's not, I have faith. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that they're going to stop the inevitable from happening, meaning like, Trump is going to get his way. They're not going to stop it. That's why they put him in there. Because they were like, we're going to, shuffle this around real quick. And, and I just think that, especially with my Saturn return and, started like around that time when I was making those videos, and it kind of showed me that, my mind started changing, and, my thoughts on certain things, and my perspective. And I went through a lot of periods of depression. I still do sometimes, not as much, but sometimes I do. More so this month. I have, like, June and this month have been rough months for me, to be honest. And, like, emotionally. And I always look at my horoscope, and it tells me, like, hey, this is just going to be a rough month for you. It's going to be a rough day, whatever. And some people are like, why would you want to subscribe yourself to that? And it's like, it's not about subscribing. It's about, or believing it's going to happen and speaking into existence. It's more of preparing, because we as human beings don't understand that we're just energy in motion. We're beyond a race or a skin tone or country or whatever. We're energy. And yeah, we can identify with those things. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to understand that we're being manipulated by energies, and high powers. And if we don't know what's going on and we don't see that, we can't make the necessary steps to prevent those things from happening. We just basically become victims to higher powers that are probably doing some dirty ass shit, and we don't know. You know what I'm saying? And astrology is a great way to understand those energies and understand how they work and how they are used, you know, sometimes against our own will. Like, we don't really know because we don't have we suffer from a lack of knowledge. And, there's people from like the biblical time periods that that consider themselves people of God, that were basically knowledgeable on these things because they knew that the higher powers, the higher principalities, were using the same thing and using it against the masses to control them. So if you're not aware, and you know what I mean, and you're so busy looking at the surface, you're not seeing how they're playing chess when using us all as pawns. And so, I look at it and I say, hey, yeah, I'm depressed and all these different things, but I realize that through gaining knowledge that they're just using it. It's a mind control thing. It's a mind control thing. And if you choose to not know that it is, and you choose to turn a blind eye, I mean, you're no better than the next man just because, I have a job, or I have a life, I party, I have friends, I have this, I have that, I have a car, I have a house, I have a cat, a dog, a son, a daughter, kids, wife, husband, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? You're not really looking at the fact that, hey, you are being controlled and you don't even know it. It's like Big Brother. You're being watched too. Everybody, some people are skeptical to give out their information, give out their phone number, give out their, you know what I mean? They're like, well, what the fuck should I give you my phone number? And it's like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just for, purchasing stuff, and they refuse. It's like people are being controlled. And you got to know, first of all, what the weapon that these people are using. You're not aware of the weapon, you can't prepare to defend yourself. And so, for me, like, I choose to strap myself with knowledge and willpower to say, hey, like, even though people may be using these things, I have the knowledge and I know how to prepare myself for battle. You know what I mean? I don't sit there and just thinking, oh, it's just roll over, because rolling over is what kind of makes it worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, I think things are gonna get better. I just think it's just a rough patch right now, you know, for a lot of people, because people are worried about their future. I'm not worried about my future. I stopped doing that. I started to be more in the present and started realizing, even though my mind wants to go there, sometimes I have to bring it back. Because if you keep bringing it there and taking it there, you ain't even aware of what the hell's going on right here. Your mind can only focus on one thing at a time. People say, oh, multitask. Multitasking is not doable. Okay? That's what they want you to think, but it's not. You know, because you got to be able to focus on what you got going on right now and not worry so much about the future. You can plan for the future, but you can't be focusing on it too much. I stopped focusing. I used to do that a lot, and it got me nowhere besides just a bunch of worry and stress, not sleeping, you know, and I'm like, I'm not doing that to myself. You know, even with like my normal life, like with relationships and career, I stopped work and all that. I stopped worrying about it. I stopped worrying about it because I already set a plan in motion, and all I got to do is just complete it, and I can, you know, get to where I need to go. I think the trick in there lies is, you know, comparing yourself to others, not doing that. Um, Looking at your situation, just comparing yourself to other people, thinking, oh, well, I should be where they're at, and why am I here and they're there, and all this, you know, doing all that shit. That's where it just gets bad, because that's when you just start thinking, sinking so far deep into it, and it's like, I'm not going to put myself in that situation. I choose to ground myself every day. If that means meditation, if that means going outside, being in nature, if that means drinking water before I do anything and putting anything in my stomach, if that means, um, you know, just doing nothing, just sitting. Because people do a lot of shit and they think they're doing something, but they ain't doing nothing. They're just moving. They're just moving. Some people are actually doing stuff and they have intentions, but some people are just doing stuff just because that's what someone expects of them to do. Or because they're a man, or because they're a woman, or because they got kids, or because of this. They would have stopped doing it. They would just sit there like, I never really wanted to do this. I never really signed up for this. This is something that was basically told for me to do, and I went and did it mindlessly and never thought to myself, like, why am I doing this? This isn't what I wanted to do. And then, you know, people, of course, are going to make you feel guilty about your choice, but that's the whole point. Get you to feel guilty about your choice so then you can be controlled. And I believe in being mindful and thoughtful, not, you know, not just not thinking, and, you know, to surrender to a higher power, to God, because God is the one that is the finisher and the author of everything. You know, that higher power says how this is going to end, not you. You're not in control, but you know that, you know, what you know, you prepare yourself, you suit yourself up for battle, but you know you're not in control. That's what I mean by surrendering. And but then at the same time, you know, not playing into the games that the people out here play, because it's gotten worse. It's gotten worse since 10 years ago when I got out of high school. It's gotten worse. And what I can say, they tried to, you know, this has been a over the year type of thing, over the many years. People trying to control this, turn this country into something else that it isn't, and what the founding fathers wanted it to be. And, you know, because they're jealous. They're jealous of the fact that, you know, someone who's born here doesn't have to do all this extra stuff to get in life, get far in life. You know, they can't seem to admit that their country, the leaders in their country, are just using them. You know, and so they think, oh, well, America's a piece of shit. I mean, America's not the reason why your country's a piece of shit. Your country is the reason why. Your leaders are the reason why, because they're selling you, they're fucking you over. Like, you go to any of these African countries, Jamaican, Caribbean countries, even some of these European countries, it's like that. Especially Latin American countries, it's like that. And so they get jealous, thinking, okay, well, I could go to America and just dump all my shit over here, and they'll jump in on my and bandwagon my issue, and then take it all the way. And they've been doing that for years, and now it's like people are putting a stop to it, especially with this president. You know, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? And you know, they tried to put the nail in the coffin with the black guy, Obama. He couldn't even do it. You know what I'm saying? And very smart, very, I wouldn't say smart, but very, very intellectual, and knows how to, you know, sweet talk people and get them to think things and that they probably never thought before. And, you know, so that's not going to work though, because like I was saying, it's like, it's just not going to work. Not going to work. Because like I was saying, you know, it's not going to work. It's not. It's just not. Because it's like, if you know, it's, no, there's some people who could see beyond that. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because it just, this country wasn't built on that, you know. These you know, even though they were racist white men, yeah, they were, some of them were racist white men, but the same sentiments they have about you, you have about them. They didn't want anything to do with you. They didn't want you in their world. You don't want them in your world. So what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? It's mutual. It's fucking mutual. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? They just figured, hey, you know, if you join with us, ain't gonna be no more of us. And then what's gonna happen? So that's all I really have to say, you know. And I'm still riding this out. I'm still riding it out. But peace.